Let's go straight away to the former Deputy Prime Minister, Barnaby, Joyce. I want to get to a number of issues today, Barnaby, but I want to take you back to yesterday when Australia put its hand up in the UN and indeed signed an agreement with Canada and New Zealand, of all places, to ask for or demand a ceasefire in Gaza. What would our greatest allies, the Americans, and more importantly, the Israelis, make of that, do you think?
Well, they'd be asking the question, do you side up with Hamas? That's a terrorist organisation. I was deputy chair of the National Security Committee when we called them a terrorist organisation. So do you want to side up with them or do you want to side up with logic? To deal with Hamas, a terrorist organisation, you have to obliterate them, get rid of them. You can't believe that you're going to change them. Hamas is not going to sign up in any authentic way to any agreement. And look, nobody wants anybody, innocent people, to die. That is ubiquitous. Forget the idea that people think that one life is worth more than another. It's not. But Hamas must be removed, because if we don't, what we're experiencing now, we're just going to experience again, and in a matter of 5 years, 4 years, whatever. Because they'll just get together again, dig more tunnels, dig more command centres, build more rockets, and plan their next attack. And we just can't prevail like that. Remember, the Egyptians don't want these people in Egypt. The Saudis don't want them in Saudi Arabia. The Jordanians don't want them in Jordan. So even those close to them understand these people perfectly. They understand them as a terrorist organisation.
So the motivation for what we did yesterday, at the behest, I presume, of the Prime Minister, although he's on holidays at the moment, what is the motivation there? Are they pandering to local political issues in their own seats, as the opposition claimed yesterday, or do they just not understand what's going on in Gaza with Hamas?
The answer to that is both. They are pandering to issues pertinent to their seats, and they also have this sort of wondrous understanding of the realities of a terrorist organisation. We are not dealing with a Palestinian issue. We're dealing with a terrorism issue, and people have got to clearly separate the two. It is not a Palestinian issue. It's a terrorism issue, and we're trying to deal with a terrorism issue, and the Palestinian issue is something entirely different.
I said at the beginning of the program, we've got to take ourselves back to October 7. Babies were beheaded, women were raped and paraded around the streets of Gaza naked. You had old 80-year-old women kidnapped. Indeed, I spoke to the son of one of those women who's still being held by Hamas. How can we be dealing with these people when they have done such heinous, awful, blood-curdling things?
Raped and then shot, raped and then murdered, with people laughing. And just remember, and you've got to put Australia in this position. Imagine if it happened to us. Imagine if it happened to us. I mean, we are so blessed that we're so blessed because it's just not going to happen to us. We're so unlikely because we've got such great neighbours. But if it happened to us, would the Australian people say, oh, well, we want to find the median ground on this? No, the Australian people would say to us, black, white, and brindle, no matter what their faith, mate, we want this sorted out. We want this terrorist organisation obliterated. We want our freedom back, and any other issues. And I understand there are other issues out there. I'm not a fool. I understand there are other issues that are very pertinent to the Palestinian people. But let's separate it. The Palestinian people and a terrorist organisation, even if they voted for them, the terrorist organisation called Hamas, we have to see them as two different entities. And unless you deal with it like that, we're never going to get to the bottom of this problem.
I want to talk about this incredible New South Wales Supreme Court decision today, which appears to give protesters again a green light to block things like roads and train stations and ports and I guess even in your case farm gates. This is all in the name of climate protesting. This is Extinction Rebellion, blockade and those people. Now, they went to court and argued that they shouldn't be able to be stopped to go be protesting. And the court, in a sense, has actually agreed with them and said the right of protest should remain. This is a crazy decision, isn't it?
We're living in a netherworld here. This is mad. I mean, today we have the Minister of New South Wales, might I say a Labor minister from the left wing of the Labor Party, saying, please turn off your air conditioners because otherwise the power might go out. And we've got these other people who just decide that they can shut down Sydney, shut down main roads because, the Teachers Federation have told them to do it. The Teachers Federation, which also is at the heart of some of these other issues that we're just talking about, such as, people protesting on behalf of Hamas. I mean, we have got to have a reality check and start calling these people out. And this crazy cult, which is renewables under the Labor Party path to 2050, 2030, you've got to understand it is a cult. And people who are part of a cult they do not want to listen to logic. They don't care about what they do. They're inspired by the stars, inspired by, the gum leaves, and they believe they have a right to completely intrude on your life. And, I want the Australian people to get an epiphany about this, and that's why I'm organising a part of the process of organising a demonstration in Canberra on the 6th of February at 10 a.m. to try and get people to understand that we can't go on like this. We are going to make ourselves broke, and every time we say we give latitude to the wondrous spirits who believe that it's their right to ride a canoe into the middle of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and shut down the traffic, we're going to say, no, bugger off, mate. You can't do that.
Talking about protests and people needing a reality check, you reckon Chris Bowen might need a reality check? He was at COP28. I mean, they couldn't even really come up with any sort of deal that they could all agree on, but they're now using the words, we've got to transition away from fossil fuels, and they held this COP28 in the UAE in Dubai on a desert where oil spews out of the ground. That was the most bizarre thing I've ever witnessed.
And yet we have Jim Chalmers saying we're going to go to another surplus. Well, Jim, how are we going to get there without coal exports and gas exports? I mean, this is another part of that naivety, this Peter Pan logic, this crazy adoration of this cult, that we have Christopher dancing, prancing Minister Bowen over there at COP28 in Dubai, talking to the people in their corporate jets and their corporate yachts, all having a jolly good time. And just in front of me here is the town of Woolbrook, where we've got people who are poor and people who can't afford their power bill. And we've got them all around me. I live out in the bush, and poor people are going off the grid because they can't afford their power bill. And we've got people who are basically going, I know it, we're homeless. And they watch this rubbish in Dubai with these mega rich people and these entitled politicians dancing around talking about how they're going to, reduce the temperature of the globe, but they can't even fix the cost of living. I mean, if you're such a wondrous spirit, if you're so endowed by God, then come home and fix the cost of living. And if you can't fix the cost of living at home, don't think you can change the temperature of the globe from Dubai.
When you walk into to Parliament and you look on the other side of the dispatch box when Parliament's sitting, and you see a lot of those senior cabinet ministers hold inner suburban Sydney seats, and I talk of people like Tanya Plibersek and Anthony Albanese himself, Tony Burke and Bowen. Do you often feel that you'd like to get them all together and say, look, I'm going to hire a bus, jump on it, and I'll take and show you what the real Australia actually looks like so you can start making some sensible decisions?
Yeah, of course. I'm just in front of the town where I was school captain, Walbrook Public School. And I remember taking people into there and I say, you know, there's a house, people live in it. And they go, no, it doesn't. I go, well, why is smoke coming out of the chimney then? And, you know, people don't understand what poverty in Australia looks like. They just don't. They've got no concept of it at all. And I'm not talking about, we've got black fella poverty and we've got white fella poverty. We really have. That's why I wrote the book, Weatherboard 9. And I just get so annoyed when you get people just oblivious to it. And it's just, you know, you take Annandale, Balmain, you know, all these areas, they're multiple times, you know, 2 and 3 times the average income of other parts of Australia. They can afford it because they can afford the power bill because it's such a small part of their income. And good luck to them. God bless them. They've done very well in their life. But you come out here and, you know, once they can't afford their power bill, they don't have power. And that means we've got Australians that are fair income, as we call it out here, they're proper poor. And do you think that's right?
Does it make you cry sometimes?
It just makes me furious because, you know, my kids go to the same primary school I went to, Woolbrook Public School. I'm on the way to a function there now, but it just, you know, you just think you guys are just, you're just disconnected. You just don't understand how some Australians live. And I'm absolutely certain if you go to the western suburbs, you go to Menai or out back of Penrith, I don't know, Bracktown's going all right now. They're sort of getting ahead, but I'm sure it's a case of Ipswich, or you go up in the gullies behind Ipswich up towards Kingaroy. These people are still there, you know, and they need someone to stand up for them. And, you know, do you reckon they've never been on a plane, mate? And people in Dubai talking about the weather and how they're going to fix it by signing a piece of paper, and the result of that is poor people become poorer, second-hand cars, they can't afford their fuel, they can't afford their food, even sausages now, mate, snags, $10 a kilogram. That's fat, rubbish cuts of meat and water. You know, that's I see it. I was just talking to a lady just then, and you know, these people are proper poor, and we've got to focus on them first. Bugger Dubai, focus on them.
I'm sorry I've made you angry because I know you're off to a school function where you're going to be very proud of your children. So cheer up before you get there. Thank you very much for giving us as much time as you always do on Sky. And if you can, have a great weekend.
Yeah, sorry for getting worked up. Thank you very much.